Hello, and welcome back to The Restful Historian, your serene escape into the fascinating world of history and mythology. Here, we explore captivating stories from the past, told in a calm and soothing tone to help you unwind and drift into a peaceful sleep. Tonight, we journey into the world of ancient Greek mythology to uncover the story of Prometheus, the titan who defied the gods to bring fire to humanity. So sit back and relax, and let the story of Prometheus carry you to a time where fire was a sacred gift and courage defied the gods. Together, we'll explore the trials that Prometheus faced, the risk he took, and the profound impact on humanity. Let's begin this calming journey through history and mythology, where myth and meaning intertwine. In a time before recorded history, when gods and titans ruled both the heavens and the earth, the world was a place of raw, untamed power. Imagine it. Vast forests stretched unbroken over hills and valleys. Rivers rushed freely, carving their paths through dense woods, and the winds carried whispers of ancient secrets, passing over mountaintops and valleys alike. The earth seemed alive, filled with forces beyond mortal understanding, each piece of nature imbued with the will of the gods. And amid this landscape lived a new creation, humankind. Humanity was young then, a fragile presence on the earth. The gods had molded them from clay, crafting them as mere reflections of divine power, giving them form, but leaving them exposed to the hardships of the mortal realm. They lacked the most essential tool of survival, fire. Without fire, humanity was vulnerable, a shadow of what they could become. They huddled together at night, shivering in the cold, their shelters made only of branches and stone, offering little protection against the chill. Each dawn brought the same routine, an endless struggle to scrape together enough to survive another day, relying solely on the daylight to navigate the hostile landscape around them. At night, when darkness fell, the silence was broken only by the distant howl of predators. Humans were prey, exposed to every threat, unable to see beyond the reach of their hands. They had no way to warm their food, no means to illuminate the night, no tools to carve out a life of comfort. They lived in constant fear, barely scraping by, relying on each other but unable to change their fate. For humankind, existence was a fragile thread, easily snapped, bound to the whims of nature's merciless power. In the heavens, the gods watched this struggle with a mixture of amusement and indifference. From the heights of Mount Olympus, Zeus, king of the gods, observed humanity as a distant and lesser creation, unworthy of his attention. The Olympians lived in their world of eternal light and luxury, above the hardships that marked mortal existence. Theirs was a life of eternal comfort, surrounded by feast, beauty, and endless power. They had little concern for the struggles of humankind, for whom they viewed as temporary, fleeting creatures. Yet among the Titans, there was one who looked upon humanity with a different perspective, Prometheus. Though he was born of the same immortal essence as the other Titans, Prometheus was unique. He was clever, empathetic, and resourceful. Unlike the gods, he felt a deep, fatherly affection for humankind, a bond that went beyond mere observation. Prometheus had always harbored a rebellious spirit, and he saw humanity's suffering as an injustice, a punishment without cause. To him, they were like children, creatures of potential, awaiting that spark that would allow them to grow and to thrive. Prometheus looked upon humanity and saw not only weakness, but promise. He saw the spark of intelligence in their eyes, the glimmer of an untapped potential. Yet this spark remained hidden, smothered by the harsh limitations imposed upon them by the gods. Fire, he believed, was not just a tool, but the missing link, a bridge that could lift humanity from its primitive state and open the door to their own self-determination. But this gift, this key to growth, was forbidden by Zeus himself, who feared the power it would bestow upon mortals. Prometheus' pity for humanity was matched only by his frustration. He saw their helplessness as a great imbalance in the order of the cosmos. Zeus had decreed that fire, that divine spark, was too powerful for mortals, a treasure to be guarded by the gods alone, kept out of mortal reach. In Zeus's eyes, humanity was fragile, incapable of wielding such a force without upsetting that balance of power. Yet Prometheus believed otherwise. He saw the act of withholding fire as a denial of humanity's potential, an act of cruelty. To him, fire was more than heat and light. It was the symbol of progress, the path to knowledge, the very essence of creation. This decision weighed heavily upon Prometheus, and he knew that to defy Zeus was no small matter. It would mean taking a stand against the ruler of Olympus, challenging the very order of the heavens. But each night, as he looked down upon the humans struggling below, huddled in darkness, his resolve grew. He would act, he told himself. He would bear the risk, the punishment, whatever came with it, for the sake of those he believed in. Prometheus' decision was not one of impulsive rebellion, but one of deep conviction. He understood that in choosing to steal fire, he was setting in motion events that would change the course of his life and the course of human history. This act would mark the start of a great rift, a rebellion against the celestial order. Yet in his heart, the choice was simple. If the gods would not share fire, then he would take it upon himself to bring that sacred light to humanity, no matter the cost. Prometheus was not an ordinary titan. Born of Iapetus and Clementine, he belonged to a lineage of giants that preceded the Olympian gods themselves. Yet, while other titans had immense physical power and a fierce loyalty to their own kind, Prometheus was marked by something different. He was gifted with sharp intellect and a remarkable sense of compassion. These traits had set him apart, not only from the titans, but also from the gods themselves, who often viewed mortals as mere playthings, insignificant in the grand cosmic order. But Prometheus had a mind that questioned and a heart that sympathized, qualities that would eventually lead him into direct conflict with Zeus, the king of the gods. Prometheus' name itself means forethought, a fitting title for a being who could see beyond the present moment and perceive the consequences of actions. He was known among the Titans for his wisdom, a gift that rivaled the cunning of the Olympian gods. While other Titans engaged in battles and rivalries, Prometheus often withdrew, observing and learning. He had a vision for the world that few could understand, a vision of potential, growth, and change. And central to this vision was his deep concern for humankind, creatures whom he believed held an untapped capacity for greatness. In Prometheus' eyes, humans were not mere animals. They were capable of thought, emotion, and even creativity. He saw the flickers of intelligence and self-awareness within them, a gift that he felt should be nurtured, not stifled. But this view of humanity was not shared by the Olympians, who saw mortals as weak and fleeting. For the gods, human lives passed in the blink of an eye, and their suffering or joy was but a momentary ripple in the vast ocean of eternity. Zeus, in particular, viewed mortals with a cold pragmatism, deeming them unworthy of the powers that the gods wielded. Prometheus knew Zeus well. Though Zeus had once been a liberator who fought against the Titans to free his siblings, his victory had also marked the beginning of his rule, a rule defined by strict hierarchies and control. Zeus believed in maintaining order above all else, and he feared anything that could disrupt the balance he had established. To him, fire was more than just heat and light. It was a symbol of power, a force that could inspire rebellion, ambition, and a desire for independence. Giving fire to humanity, he believed, would inevitably lead to chaos, a risk that he was unwilling to take. But Prometheus saw things differently. He believed that Zeus underestimated humanity's potential, and that the king's fears were born out of arrogance. Prometheus' relationship with Zeus was complicated. On one hand, he respected the ruler of Olympus for his strength and leadership, but on the other, he was frustrated by Zeus's refusals to consider the needs and aspirations of the mortals. Prometheus understood that Zeus had a vision of order and authority, but he could not abide by a vision that left no room for growth, change, for the empowerment of humankind. The tension between Prometheus and Zeus was not just a clash of personalities, it was a fundamental conflict of ideals. Prometheus believed in evolution and the gradual unfolding of potential, whereas Zeus clung to stability, preferring a world where the gods reigned supreme and humans remained dependent and powerless. This clash of perspectives became a source of mounting frustration for Prometheus. He wanted to see humanity rise, to become something greater than mere subjects of divine whim. But under Zeus's rule, mortals were kept in darkness, both literally and figuratively. Their disagreements often played out subtly, through conversations filled with veiled warnings and unspoken challenges. Prometheus would hint at the potential he saw in humankind, suggesting that perhaps the gods could guide mortals rather than control them. Zeus, however, would dismiss such notions, reminding Prometheus that humans were fragile and impulsive, too easily swayed by emotions and desires. For Zeus, granting them fire was akin to giving them a weapon they could not handle, a gift that would bring about their ruin rather than enlightenment. Yet Prometheus was undeterred. He saw something in humanity that Zeus refused to acknowledge, a spark of resilience, a tenacity to survive despite overwhelming odds. This stubbornness reminded him of the Titans, who had once fought to the bitter end in the war against the Olympians. Humanity, Prometheus believed, deserved a chance to prove themselves, to rise against their limitations, and create life that was more than mere survival. And he knew that fire was the key to unlocking that future. Prometheus' resolve grew stronger with each passing day. He began to consider the possibility of defying Zeus openly, an act that would place him in direct opposition to the king of the gods. It was a dangerous path, but Prometheus was not one to shy away from risk. His compassion for humanity was matched by his own pride, a pride that refused to let Zeus dictate the fate of the mortals. He saw himself as their protector, their champion, and he was willing to bear the consequences of rebellion if it meant giving humanity the tools to shape their destiny. But this choice was not without sacrifice. Prometheus understood that in challenging Zeus, he would be risking everything: his freedom, his place among the gods, and perhaps even his own life. The other gods, he knew, would not stand with him. They were loyal to Zeus, bound by their allegiance to the new order. Yet Prometheus' loyalty was to something greater, to a vision of a world where humans could wield their own power, stand on their own feet, and light their own way. In the quiet hours of the night, Prometheus would gaze down at the mortal realm, watching the small figures huddled in the cold, waiting for the dawn. Each night, his resolve deepened, and each day, he grew more certain of his path. The time was coming where he would act, where he would seize fire from the heavens and bring it down to earth. He knew the risk, the dangers, but for Prometheus, there was no other choice. He had the power to change the fate of humankind, and he would not let fear or caution keep him from fulfilling that destiny. This was no simple act of defiance. It was a declaration of his belief in humanity. Prometheus was willing to face the wrath of Zeus, to endure the punishment that was sure to follow. For he knew that once gifted with fire, humanity would be forever changed. They would no longer be dependent, no longer bound to the whims of nature and the gods. They would be able to build, to create, to think beyond mere survival. And in that new dawn, Prometheus would see his vision realized, a world where humanity could stand proud, a reflection of the divine spark within them. In the heart of the heavens, hidden deep within the realms of the gods, lay the sacred flame, a source of raw power that Zeus guarded with the utmost jealousy. This flame was unlike any ordinary fire. It was a living essence of divine energy, a spark that held within the authority and power of Olympus. Only the Olympians dared to approach it, for it was interwoven with their very immortality, a privilege and a power far beyond the mortal reach. For centuries, this flame had burned undisturbed, a symbol of God's defiance over the world, an eternal reminder to their untouchable authority. Zeus had decreed that no mortal would ever come close to it, and the other gods obeyed his will without question. Yet Prometheus, with his keen intellect and unshakable resolve, saw this decree as an obstacle he could overcome. His decision to steal the fire was not a reckless impulse, but a carefully thought-out plan, a culmination of his deep-seated belief in humanity's potential. He understood fully the wrath he would invoke if his plan was discovered. Zeus's anger was legendary, and Prometheus knew that a punishment beyond measure awaited any who dared to defy him. But his compassion for humankind His conviction that they were more than capable drove him forward. He knew that with fire, humanity can shape a new destiny. They can move from darkness to light, from primitive existence to the first steps of civilization. And so, with steely determination, Prometheus began his plan. He waited until the gods were distracted, feasting and celebrating on Olympus, their laughter and music echoing through the divine halls. Under the cover of night, he slipped away, moving silently through the realms of the gods. Each step was fraught with risk, a delicate dance through the heart of the heavens. Though he had walked these corridors many times before, tonight was different. Tonight, he was no honored guest. He was a thief on a mission that would alter the course of the mortal world. The flame was kept within the forge of Hephaestus, the god of fire and craftsmanship, a place filled with the heat of creation and the hum of divine energy. Hephaestus, though a powerful god, was known for his focus, often losing himself in his work. Prometheus counted on this solitary habit, hoping that the god would be deep in his task, unaware of his intrusion. As he entered the forge, he was greeted by a faint red glow, embers smoldering in great iron vats, shadows flickering against the walls. It was a place of transformation, where raw materials became works of arts and weapons of unmatched strength, a place that embodied the essence of fire and creation. In the very center of the forge, held high with a mighty brazier, burned the sacred flame. Its light was unlike any mortal fire, a brilliant, almost blinding glow that pulsed as if it were alive, its energy radiating with an intensity that seemed to resonate through the very air. Prometheus approached slowly, his steps measured, his gaze fixed upon the flame. He knew that he was about to take a power reserved for gods, a force that embodied the essence of Olympus. The flame was more than just fire, it was a fragment of divine will, an energy that held within it the ability to create, to destroy, and to transform. With deliberate movements, Prometheus reached into the brazier, his hand steady as he held a hollowed reed he had prepared, an ordinary object that would serve as a vessel for something extraordinary. As he lowered the reed into the flame, it sprang to life, leaping into the hollow wood, filling it with a light that shimmered and danced, contained yet fierce. Prometheus held his breath as he watched the fire settle within, its warmth radiating through the reed, a living, breathing force now within his grasp. The moment he held the flame, he knew that there was no turning back. His heart raced, not with fear, but exhilaration and purpose. He was carrying a piece of the god's power, a gift that would bring humanity into a new era. He turned and began his journey back, moving swiftly through Olympus, slipping between shadows, avoiding the open halls and corridors. Each step was calculated, his senses heightened as he passed through the silent halls, aware that a single wrong move could mean discovery and a swift end to his mission. The descent from Olympus was treacherous. The gods had a way of sensing disturbances, and he knew he could not afford to linger. As he moved away from the divine realm, the air grew colder, the chill of the mortal world reaching out to meet him. But Prometheus held the reed close, shielding it from the wind, his grasp firm as he protected the flame. Below him, the world lay silent and dark, the lands blanketed in shadow. The stars above seemed to watch his descent, a silent witness to his act of rebellion. At last, his feet touched the solid earth. His journey had been long and fraught with tension, yet he felt a rush of triumph as he gazed upon the humans gathered below, their forms shrouded in the dim glow of twilight. They were unaware of his arrival, lost in the silence of the night, their lives untouched by flame he held now. Prometheus felt a surge of purpose as he approached them, knowing that this gift would transform their existence, opening doors that had been closed to them since the dawn of time. With a steady hand, Prometheus lowered the reed towards a bundle of dry wood, allowing the flame to catch, watching as it glared to life. The fire grew from a flicker to a steady blaze, its life spilling over the humans nearby, illuminating their faces with a warmth they had never known. One by one, they awakened, their eyes widening as they beheld fire for the first time. In that moment, awe and wonder overtook them, a sense of discovery that would be passed down through generations. The mortals gathered around the flame, reaching out tentatively, feeling its warmth, marveling at its glow. Prometheus watched in silence, a quiet satisfaction settling over him as he saw the spark of understanding. light up in their faces. He had given them more than just warmth. He had given them the power to transform their world. With fire, they would learn to cook, forge tools, and illuminate their nights, to protect themselves from the cold and the dark. They would no longer be mere survivors, they would be creators. For Prometheus, this was the fulfillment of his vision, a purpose that would transcend the risk he had taken. He knew that Zeus's wrath would soon follow, that his defiance would be met with punishment beyond measure. But as he stood among the humans, watching them embrace the gift he had given, he felt no regret. He had defied the heavens for the sake of humanity, acted on his deepest beliefs, and brought light to those who had only known shadow. With one last look at the mortals gathered around the fire, Prometheus turned and disappeared into the night, his figure melting into the darkness. He knew his journey was far from over, and that the gods would soon exact their vengeance. Yet in his heart, he carried a sense of triumph, a certainty that no punishment could erase. He had changed the fate of humanity. In that quiet glow of the fire he had gifted, humanity would begin to carve its own path, one spark at a time. The dawn after Prometheus' act of defiance was unlike any dawn before it. As the first rays of sunlight stretched across the earth, they revealed a world transformed. Where once darkness had reigned over human settlements, small fires now flickered through villages, illuminating faces that had spent countless nights in cold and shadow. These fires, born from the divine sparks sown by Prometheus, brought warmth, safety, and a newfound sense of possibility. For the first time, humankind felt a mastery over their world that had been previously out of reach. This fire was no ordinary element, it was a catalyst. The mortals gathered around its warmth, instinctively understanding that they held something precious. With fire, they could transform food, making it not only safer, but richer and more nourishing. They discovered how it softened raw materials, allowing them to shape metals into tools and weapons that were sharper, more durable, and fit for crafting, hunting, and protecting. The flames quickly became symbols of life itself, a source of security, a gathering place for community, and an inspiration for stories and rituals that would carry forward for generations. Prometheus, from a vantage point hidden from Olympus, watched these changes unfold, his heart swelling with a mixture of pride and satisfaction. He saw the spark of intelligence within humankind grow, their minds awaken to their own potential. The gift of fire was not just warmth or light, it was the dawn of human culture and progress. Prometheus had given humanity the power to shape its own path, to push beyond its limits set by nature. Yet in the heavens, the reaction was far less celebratory. Zeus, the ruler of the gods, sensed an unusual disturbance. A shift in the world below that drew his attention with increasing urgency. He looked towards the mortal realm, and what he saw filled him with a fury unlike any he had felt before. Mortal villages now glowed with the unmistakable light of fire. The humans, who he had deemed weak and insubordinate, were wielding a power that he had guarded jealously, a force he had deemed too far dangerous for them to hold. To Zeus, this was more than just theft. It was a direct challenge to his authority, a rebellious act that defied his will. In his eyes, fire was no mere tool. It was a symbol of independence and empowerment, a freedom he had worked tirelessly to keep out of mortal reach. His mind raced with the implications of this development. Humans, once dependent on the natural order, could now control a force capable of reshaping their world. And behind this monumental defiance, he knew, was Prometheus. The gods, too, were unsettled, murmuring among themselves, uneasy with the change they sensed in the mortal realm. Hera, queen of the gods and Zeus's wife, voiced her concerns, her words laced with contempt for Prometheus' reckless favor towards mortals. She saw fire as a sacred privilege, one that humans had no right to wield. Poseidon, god of the seas, warned that fire would give mortals a confidence that could one day lead them to challenge even the might of Olympus. Athena, the god of wisdom, held a more nuanced view. She understood the potential in humankind and the wisdom that fire might nurture, but she also foresaw the risk. Fire, she knew, could inspire greatness but also awaken ambition, a force that could easily destroy as well as create. Zeus listened, his rage intensifying with each argument. For him, this was not just a matter of theft, but a threat to the divine hierarchy he had fought to establish. Prometheus, by gifting fire, had not only stolen from the gods, but had also planted the seeds of rebellion in the mortal world. In Zeus's mind, he envisioned the consequences: humans building empires, conquering the natural order, perhaps even daring to defy the gods themselves. Such a future was intolerable, and he resolved to make Prometheus pay. Meanwhile, Prometheus watched the fires that had burned across human settlements with undeterred pride. He believed in humanity's potential, and saw Zeus's rage as the reaction of a ruler who had refused to accept change. The gods, Prometheus felt, had grown distant from the struggles of mortals, disconnected from the hardships that defined their existence. To Zeus, humans were fragile and fleeting, of little consequence in the vast cosmic order, but to Prometheus, they were resilient, curious, and adaptable, creatures who, given the right tools, could rise to greatness. As days passed, humanity's newfound power began to reshape their lives in profound ways. Villages expanded as fire became an essential part of their culture. With fire, they smelted metals, crafted sturdier weapons, built permanent shelters, and gathered around communal hearths to share stories and pass down knowledge. The transformation was rapid. Each fire-lit gathering place became a symbol of humanity's ingenuity, and the tales of Prometheus' gift spread, and humans came to see fire as a blessing, a sign that they too held the spark of the divine. But with this growth came a darker side. Fire's power was also double-edged, and humanity soon learned that it could also become a weapon. Conflicts arose between villages, each seeking to control resources and defend their newfound way of life. Flames that once provided warmth could be used to burn and destroy, and humanity came to understand the heavy burden of power. Fire, they realized, was not only a gift, but also a responsibility, one that demanded wisdom to wield wisely. Zeus, watching these developments with growing unease, saw in the flickering fires a symbol of humanity's audacity, a reminder that they had taken a step beyond mere survival, touching a power that once only belonged to gods. The mortal realm, once governed by nature, was now being shaped by human hands. This was a vision that filled Zeus with dread, a vision of futures where mortals, strengthened by their newfound capabilities, might one day challenge even the might of Olympus. In a final silent moment, Zeus made his decision. Prometheus would suffer for his defiance, for the audacity of bringing fire to mortals. Zeus would not only punish him, but make an example of him, a warning to all who might consider defying the will of the gods. The punishment he designed would be one of the hardest known, a torment that would echo through the ages, a reminder of the cost of rebellion. And so, as humanity's fires continued to burn, Prometheus awaited his fate, knowing that his act of defiance had irrevocably altered the course of human history. He had given humanity the light they needed to rise, aware that this gift came with a steep price. As he looked down upon the mortal realm and saw the flickering lights, he felt a quiet pride, bracing himself for the wrath of Zeus. In Olympus, the fires of human civilization burning below were met with a storm of fury. Zeus's anger had taken on a life of its own, a storm of thunderclouds gathering over the heavens. For days, he had watched the flickering lights spreading across the mortal world with seething rage. Each flame represented not only Prometheus' defiance, but also a fracture in the order Zeus had so carefully maintained. To Zeus, fire was not just a tool, it was a symbol of the divine essence, a gift that mortals could not fully understand or wield without upsetting the balance between gods and humans. Zeus's mind was consumed with thoughts of betrayal. Prometheus had overstepped the bounds of his kind, taking it upon himself to act against Olympus, to place himself as a champion of mortals over the gods. It was a dangerous precedent, a challenge to Zeus's authority that he could not let stand. In his eyes, the mortal fires were evidence of Prometheus' insubordination, and he vowed that his punishment would be as fierce as the crime was audacious. The other gods felt the intensity of Zeus's wrath, and they kept their distance, unwilling to draw his attention. Even Athena, who admired Prometheus' intelligence, remained silent, knowing that any intervention would only heighten Zeus's rage. Hera observed Zeus's fury with satisfaction, feeling that Prometheus had overstepped his bounds and deserved whatever punishment Zeus chose. But for Zeus, this punishment was more than retribution. It was a lesson, an example that would resonate across both Olympus and the mortal realm. With cold determination, Zeus devised a punishment that would echo through the ages. He ordered that Prometheus would be taken to the furthest edge of the world, to the jagged cliffs of the Caucasus Mountains, a place of relentless winds and biting cold. Here, in the barren wasteland, Prometheus would be bound for eternity, hidden from gods and mortals alike. It was a place that reflected Zeus's own cold resolve, a landscape as unyielding as the punishment he would inflict. Hephaestus, the god of craftsmanship, was summoned to forge the chains that would bind Prometheus. Though Hephaestus respected Prometheus and was deeply troubled by his fate, he knew better than to question Zeus. Reluctantly, he fashioned the chains, each linked to a work of divine skill, unbreaking and unyielding. With a heavy heart, Hephaestus accompanied Prometheus to the cliffs, securing him to a massive stone with chains that cut deep into his flesh, binding him so tightly that even the most powerful mortal would never break free. Prometheus was chained with his arms stretched wide, his body exposed to the elements. The cold wind tore at his skin, and the rough stone pressed into his back. Yet his spirit remained defiant. He had known that his gift to humanity would come with consequence, and he accepted his fate with quiet resolve. His sacrifice is one he would make again, for in his mind, the fires he had given humanity would ignite something greater than the rest of the gods. It was a gift that could not be taken back, a spark that would carry forward even as he endured Zeus's punishment. But Zeus's cruelty went beyond confinement. As the sun rose over the mountains each day, an enormous eagle, a creature born from Zeus's own power, descended upon Prometheus. This eagle, fierce and relentless, tore into Prometheus's flesh, devouring his liver, the organ associated with resilience and strength. The pain was beyond anything a mortal could endure, yet Prometheus endured it in silence, his mind steeled against the agony. Each night his body healed, only for the cycle to begin again at dawn. It was an unending torment, a suffering renewed each day, a physical manifestation of Zeus's unyielding anger. The torment was Zeus's ultimate punishment, a pain that could never end, a reminder to all of the gods' absolute authority. The mountains bore silent witness to his suffering, the wind carrying his silent cries across the desolate cliffs. There was no relief, no end, and only the relentless cycle of agony, regeneration, and agony once more. Yet even in this unthinkable suffering, Prometheus' spirit did not falter. Each day, as the eagle descended, he thought of the fires he had given to humankind. He had pictured villages bathed in the glow of the flames, families gathered in the warmth and light, people crafting tools, telling stories, a future made brighter by his sacrifice. This vision, the promise of humankind's potential, became his anchor, a reason to endure. He knew that his suffering was not in vain. He had kindled a force that would grow beyond the control of Olympus. As the years wore on, Prometheus' torment became legend. Tales of the Titan who had suffered for his love of humanity spread among the mortals. They spoke of his courage, his sacrifice, and the gift he had given them. To humanity, Prometheus became more than a Titan. He had become a symbol of defiance, a beacon of resistance, a reminder that even gods could not break the spirit of one who believed in a greater cause than himself. In Olympus, his growing admiration among mortals did not go unnoticed. Some gods grew uneasy, sensing that Prometheus' punishment had failed to diminish his legacy. Instead, his suffering seemed to magnify it, transforming him from a rebel into a martyr. Zeus watched this development with a mixture of anger and frustration, yet he refused to relent. In his eyes, Prometheus' defiance had demanded the severest punishment, and to release him would be a weakness. As long as Prometheus was bound, the message of his punishment would endure. For Prometheus, these years of torment became a testament to his unbreakable spirit. Though his body was ravaged daily, his resolve only grew stronger. He refused to let Zeus have the satisfaction of seeing him broken, his spirit crushed. To him, his suffering was the price of freedom, a cost he was willing to bear for the sake of humanity. As he lay bound to the cold stone, his mind transcended the pain. He became more than a Titan. He became a myth, a figure whose story would inspire courage and resilience for generations to come. In the quiet moments, when the eagle departed, and the night brought a brief respite, Prometheus would look at the stars, a faint hope flickering within him. He knew that his torment might not last forever, that one day, perhaps, someone would come to break his chains. Until that day, he would endure, his thoughts fixed on the fires he had given, a legacy that Zeus could not extinguish. And so, in the mortal realm, the fires of civilization continued to burn, fueled by Prometheus' legacy. His suffering, though immense, could not silence his story. In the minds of those who heard it, he was more than a Titan. He was a friend to humanity, a champion who defied the gods for a brighter future. His spirit, unbroken by Zeus' punishment, lived on in the hearts of those he had saved, a symbol of defiance and hope that would echo through the ages. The story of Prometheus was not merely a tale of rebellion or punishment. It became a symbol that resonated deeply within humanity across ages. As fires burned in every human settlement, they brought more than warmth and light. They embodied the legacy of Prometheus' defiance and sacrifice. In every flicker of flame, humanity saw the spirit of a titan who had valued them enough to suffer eternally. Prometheus' story was the first one to teach humans about courage, resilience, and the power of sacrifice. In a world where mortals were once at the mercy of nature and divine powers, Prometheus' gift of fire marked the beginning of human independence. Fire was more than just a tool, it was the dawn of human civilization. The first steps on a path that would eventually lead to human cities, art, empires, science, and discovery. With fire, humans could alter the materials of the earth, transforming them to suit their needs. They learned to forge metal, to cook food, to create pottery, and tools that extended their capabilities. Fire gave them a means of survival, but also a pathway to mastery over their world. For Prometheus, this was his purpose. He saw in humans a spark of potential that the gods had overlooked, a resilience and intelligence that could lead to greatness. To him, humanity was not merely a plaything of the gods. They were their own beings with destinies, creatures who could shape their own futures if given the right tools. In giving them fire, Prometheus had not only defied Zeus, but he had also granted humans the ability to rise beyond their origins. He had, in essence, elevated humanity from a state of dependency into one of autonomy and growth. The story of Prometheus spread from village to village, a tale told by fireside as the flames danced and cast shadows. The image of a titan bound to a cliff, enduring endless torment for humanity, struck a deep chord. To humans, Prometheus became more than a titan. He was a hero, a figure who dared to face the unimaginable suffering so that others might have better lives. His pain was not just seen as a punishment, but as a testament to the strength of his convictions. Prometheus had chosen to endure the wrath of Zeus so that humanity could rise, and in this choice, he became a symbol of sacrifice and courage. Even as centuries passed, Prometheus' story endured. The ancient Greeks, who passed down the myths and legends as a meaning of explaining the world around them, saw in Prometheus a figure of enlightenment. To them, he was a teacher, a bringer of knowledge, someone who had given humanity the power to question, to create, and to build. He had represented the struggle between power and progress, the tension between authority and the desire for growth. In every sense, Prometheus embodied the spirit of resistance, a refusal to accept the limitation imposed by those in power.